guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and today we're doing a backup camera to an existing aftermarket radio in this Hummer H3. Now what we're going to do is start with the kit that we're going to use, and we're going to show you how to install the kit to the spare tire mount on the rear of the vehicle. We'll show you how to run all the cables and get it connected into this radio. Let's get started. Okay, so here we are at the bench. The parts that we're going to need, first and foremost, is a camera. Obviously, there's lots of cameras on the market. Now, there are specific cameras that work for an H3, but at the making of this video in time, due to COVID, a lot of those parts are not available, unfortunately, so we had to improvise. Now, the kit that we decided to go ahead and give it a try and adapt to this platform is a kit for a Jeep Wrangler. It's a JKU spare tire mountable kit. And it's not perfect, but what we're going to do is modify this kit to make it work for our application here today. Now, this is a Red Wolf kit. If you want to pick one of these up, we'll have it linked in the description, but essentially it has a camera, a plate mount for the spare tire area, and a bunch of different brackets and adapters depending on the type of wheel that you have on the vehicle to make it work so it pokes through between the spokes. Now, it comes with a ton of Jeep parts that we're not going to need, Jeep harnesses. All we're after is the camera and the mount itself and your basic wiring that'll go to the aftermarket radio. So with this here, what we're going to do is actually head over to the spare tire, get that off, and get this mocked up and mounted so we can start running our cables. Now, for the wiring of this kit, we've kind of got both ends here, and then in between both these ends we have quite a bit of wire, we're going to quickly cover how we're going to connect this in the vehicle. So this is the end that goes to the radio. This will plug into the camera input on the back of the radio. For this kit, this can be a trigger wire, so if your H3 or Smart Harness didn't provide a trigger wire, ours actually does, so we don't need to hook this up. But essentially here, you would connect the other end to this to the positive wire on the reverse light. Essentially, when that light turns on, this becomes hot. Because it's connected to the trigger of the radio, it automatically cycles the radio over to the reverse mode. Again, our Smart Harness that we have already installed in the H3 already includes a generated trigger wire, so we don't need to hook this up because it's already there and available back behind the dash. So this will go unused. Now, this is power and ground for the camera. So if you want to connect it to accessory, you can connect this to power and ground, and so the camera is on when the H3 is running. Now, if you don't want to connect it to accessory, we're going to talk about the other end. The other end is the plug that plugs into the camera kit. These go together, and off these pigtail ends is another power and ground. Now, you can connect these ends if you want to the reverse light, positive, negative. It'll also power the camera when that reverse light is on. So if you don't want to connect your camera to accessory, you can connect it this way, and this also generates the trigger that the radio would need. Since, again, we already have a trigger, and we also want to run this on accessory and not only on when the truck is in reverse, we're not going to use this end. We'll probably cut this short and just insulate it within the rear door because it's not going to be used at this time. So at this point of time, as we've now covered the wiring, if you want more information on just general backup camera how-tos, well, we have a great video on the channel that walks you through step-by-step on different methods on how to connect it. We'll have that link down in the description as well as the card up above. Let's head over to the Jeep and start getting things mounted. Okay, so we went ahead and pulled off our spare tire. Now here is our kit. Because this is for a JK, obviously it's not the same bolt pattern, but we can still snag two of the studs. The third stud is just too low to go through this opening. You can modify this, which we did a little bit, but essentially we're just going to use the two side ones. And then the bottom, what we did is we filed in a little notch just to stabilize it. Get that right where we want it, and then once the tire is on, it's going to sandwich this in place and it's not going to be going anywhere, and we can adjust the camera just so that the lens is level. So not a big deal, it still works. Now, included with this kit are these little lock washers. Now we got to run our cable through the hatch. Okay, so what we've done is we've routed our wire. We put a zip tie on just to hold it in place. Then we came down. Fortunately, we have our vent in the back here, and this goes right through that vent, as you can see there. So it's perfect. We wouldn't have to create any hole or grommet or anything. And then back here, we opened our jack pocket, and actually just pulled out the jack there, set it off to the side. It gives us plenty of access to go ahead and pull our wire on through. Now this is the end. What we need to do is keep working it down, because we need to go through this grommet. This will probably be the hardest part of our install here today. So pop out both ends. We got to feed our wire through that rubber grommet, just so we can maintain the seal and a nice clean look along the factory loom. Then once we're inside, we can start running our cable forward all the way up to the radio. From the back here, just continue to tuck under this panel, and really it's super easy since the wire is so small. You can remove panels, but really because it is a small wire and really it's not going anywhere, you can just do the tuck method. Just tuck up underneath the panels, working your way forward. Okay, here we are inside the truck here. Now we've run our video wire all the way up to the driver's side kick panel area, and at this point of time we need to now remove our radio so we can feed our wires through the dash, so we can connect our video feed as well as power for the camera. Now we already have this aftermarket doubled-in radio installed. If you want to see us put this in, we actually have a full step-by-step tutorial on the channel that will link down in the description, as well as place a card up above for you to check on out. At this point of time, it needs to come out temporarily so we can go ahead and make our connections. It's pretty easy. We essentially here can just start on the left-hand side, pop this on out, disconnect our hazard switch here. Now at this point in time, we do have an airbag in here that we don't want to trip a light on the dash by prematurely disconnecting it while turning it on. So what we're going to do is, while this is still plugged in, pull our gear shifter back so we can disconnect our HVAC controls down below. We'll put it back into park and then disconnect our airbag sensor. Okay, so with the panel out of the way, let's go ahead and remove our 7mm or 9/32 screws. Okay, so we got our wire fed all the way through the dash. We're going to hook our wiring to our little fish here, pull it on through the dash. Alright, we continue to tuck, came up here, came right outside this panel. Now we popped the side panel off to give us the access we need, and we ran our cable up and through and used that hanger to fish the wire to back behind the radio. Panel back on, all the wiring is hidden and nice and clean. We need to plug our video wire into our video input on the back of the radio. Now this is our reverse trigger, which we're not using. So what we're going to do, just to ensure that at any point of time there's no power to it, we're going to cut it flush and put a butt connector on it just to protect. We don't want to ground anything, just in case. Alrighty, so we got our camera wire all connected here. This RCA camera feed goes into the camera input on the back of the radio. Now with power and ground, what we did is we grounded our camera right here to one of our unused cigarette lighter or power socket harnesses. It's just this black wire down here on this little gray connector. There's two of them, you can choose one or the other. And then the power wire for the camera is running off our smart harness, off our radio. So we just connect it into the red wire of our radio, the accessory wire, and it will be powering the camera just off the accessory. So whenever the radio is on, that means the camera's on, so you can use the camera at any time besides just in reverse, and the camera will shut off when the radio shuts off when the key is out of the ignition. So just like that, we got our 3 connections made. So at this point of time, we need to get the radio back in the DAC. Okay, radio's all back in, everything is good. Let's go ahead and put it in reverse. There we are. Awesome. Pull it out of reverse. Great. Now, one thing you always want to ensure when you go home, be sure on your radio, if it has the functionality, to go down into your camera input and ensure that it's on. And we put ours to normal, or sometimes it's battery, or sometimes it's just on and off. So we got ours in, so we just ensured that it's all turned on. Now the nice thing is, since it's connected to accessory, we can just go to the camera without going in reverse, and it takes us right to that input, which is awesome. So we can use the camera more than just reverse. Go back to home, go back to our tuner. So that is it. If you have any questions on what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below. Thanks guys for watching the channel. Like I said, if you want to see this radio installed, we'll have a link in the description. Be sure to hit subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. And we will see you in the next video.